Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into the neurobiology of elite athlete resilience. You know, we look at high-powered competitors and just assume their grace under pressure is, well, some kind of innate magic. But guess what? It's not magic at all. It is highly calibratable biology.
Before we actually dissect the science, we've got to ask ourselves a crucial question. What physically separates the people who totally choke under pressure from the ones who just effortlessly thrive? Think about it. Think about a major presentation or a massive deadline you faced. Why does one person's mind completely blank out while another gets this incredible surge of focused energy? Well, the answer is literally in our nervous system wiring.
Here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. First up, the pressure paradox. Then, the amygdala versus the prefrontal cortex. Third, threat or challenges states. Fourth, mastering the vagal brake. And finally, number 5, reprogramming your nervous system.
All right, let's dive right into section 1, the pressure paradox.
So, modern psychophysiology actually shows us that choking is just a biological misfiring. I mean, we usually view stress as the ultimate enemy, right? But the research proves that resilience is absolutely not a fixed personality trait. No way. It's a highly trainable physical skill. Your stress response is just a physiological tool. Literally, if you treat it like a muscle, you can actually train it to perform for you.
Moving on to section 2, amygdala versus prefrontal cortex.
Okay, so during moments of intense pressure, there is a literal tug of war happening right inside your skull. On one side, you've got the amygdala. This is your ancient threat detector, and it's basically screaming at you to freeze or panic. On the other side is the prefrontal cortex, your logical center for intense focus and complex planning. The secret here? Elite athletes actively train to suppress that primal amygdala panic, which keeps the prefrontal cortex firmly in the driver's seat.
But how do they actually maintain that control? Well, it's all about neuroplasticity and BDNF. Think of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, as this high-grade fertilizer for your neurocircuitry. By deliberately exposing themselves to stress, these athletes trigger a release of BDNF. This literally physically strengthens the neural pathways that control emotion. It essentially just mutes the amygdala's alarm bells.
Next up, section 3, threat or challenge states.
Looking at the Yerkes-Dodson curve here, it perfectly visualizes how our biology actually needs a certain level of stress to hit peak performance. I mean, think about it. With zero pressure, you're just bored. But if you tip over the peak and land in the red zone, you slip straight into hyperarousal and anxiety. So the ultimate goal of elite performers is not to be perfectly calm. Not at all. It's to surf that optimal middle peak.
Now, this biological map breaks down into 2 distinct stress timelines. The moment a stressor hits you, your fast-acting SAM axis deploys adrenaline and norepinephrine. We're talking in mere seconds. But if your brain decides you can't handle the pressure, it triggers a slower secondary state. This is where the HPA axis completely floods your body with prolonged cortisol. And that is exactly what traps you in anxiety for hours.
This right here is the ultimate fork in the road. When you're in a challenge state, your brain is relying on that super-fast SAM axis. Your blood vessels dilate, pumping all this rich, efficient oxygen straight to your brain and your muscles. But if you fall into a threat state, both axes fire at once. Your blood vessels literally constrict. They start hoarding blood in your core to prepare for physical damage, which completely starves the exact cognitive centers you need the most. Wild, right?
All right, bringing us to section 4, mastering the vagal brake. So, to prevent that total physiological lockdown, we rely on something called the vagal brake. Governed by the 10th cranial nerve, this is basically your parasympathetic nervous system's built-in deceleration mechanism. It's the brakes. Elite athletes actively train this brake to counter those massive spikes in fight-or-flight arousal. It allows them to swiftly downregulate their heart rate so they stay completely poised under fire. Just check out the sophisticated two-way circuitry of the vagus nerve we're showing here. It connects the brainstem straight to the heart and lungs. It's constantly monitoring your cardiorespiratory activity, all while sending visceral feedback right back up to your cortex. This means the mind-body connection isn't just some abstract woo-woo concept. It's a hardwired anatomical loop. And because it is hardwired, you can consciously manipulate it. Which perfectly leads us into section 5, reprogramming your nervous system.
Okay, let's hit the cognitive gym. Our first drill exploits the mammalian dive reflex, literally by just submerging your face in cold water, and yes, a salad bowl full of ice water totally works for this. While holding your breath, you trigger this profound synergy between your trigeminal and vagus nerves. This is a deep ancestral reflex that forces bradycardia. It can instantly drop your heart rate by up to 25%. It is a brilliant way to immediately break a panic state.
Drill number 2 is resonance frequency breathing. This is an absolute staple for elite tennis players when they're resetting right before a match point. Basically, by pacing your breathing to exactly 6 breaths per minute, making sure to really extend that exhale, you maximize your heart rate variability. Nailing this rhythm fully engages that vagal brake we talked about, instantly halting the physiological chaos of a threat state.
Finally, we can build up some serious cognitive reserve through multitasking drills. Try combining aerobic movement with complex problem solving. We're talking about things like fast-paced walking while doing math problems in your head, or running through complex coordination and dance drills. Doing this forces your body to adapt to compounding stressors simultaneously. It boosts that BDNF fertilizer we mentioned earlier and trains your prefrontal cortex to stay laser-focused even when your heart rate is completely through the roof.
As we wrap up today's explainer, the absolute biggest takeaway from all this research is super clear. Your ability to handle pressure, it is not some innate gift you're just born with or without. It's a biological habit. It is a capacity that you forged through deliberate, consistent calibration of your own physiological systems.
So the next time you're staring down a high-stakes exam or a crucial presentation, I want you to remember this. You are not at the mercy of your biology. You are the architect of it. So how are you going to use these tools to master your vagal brake and turn tomorrow's debilitating threat into an exhilarating challenge? Get out there, because the training starts today.